So this is funny. Bronny James has become the most popular betting pick for Rookie of the Year. Don't tell me the economy is bad. Clearly, there's a lot of money to burn in America. The last 7 NBA Rookies of the Year, none of them have spent a day in the G League. And Bronny right now is a G League player. So the Democrats should use this during the national convention. The Bronny Index. I'm Joe Biden. I approve this message. Look how good our economy is. People are betting on Bronny to win Rookie of the Year. Flights are packed. We all got big screens, and everybody's betting on Bronny. And an inconceivable award he has no chance to win. That's a strong economy. But it also really speaks to how absolutely dreadful this draft was. The number 2 pick, Alex Sarr from France, is 1 for 21 in his last 2 games with 2 points. He's the number 2 pick. 0 for 7 on threes. He's not a prospect. He's an IKEA manual. You open up the box. Is this from Sweden? Did they send me all the parts? He's below a prospect. He's been awful. And he's the number 2 pick. And this illustrates why I defended the Lakers and LeBron James and Klutch Sports. I mean, they had some leverage, did Klutch Sports. I'd be careful about using it every time I have it. But this is no big deal. This is not worth all the grifters on the internet and bad actors losing sleep. It's a bad draft. The players drafted above him are G Leaguers. The players drafted below him are G Leaguers. And the number 2 draft pick, Alex Sarr from France, has been absolutely offensively terrible. So, and for the record, Bronny actually and Dalton Connect, the other Laker rookie, both had a really good game yesterday. And Bronny finished with 13 points on 50% shooting. So he's had back-to-back pretty good games. Bronny has. Not the number 2 pick. He's had terrible games. Bronny's actually had back-to-back pretty good shooting games. So I don't think he's a natural, fluid offensive player. I don't think he ever will be great. My take, though, isn't necessarily the shooting. It's that he's a 6'1.5" player who doesn't play point. So if he improves his ball handling and can bring the floor up even occasionally for the Lakers and play excellent defense, he had a couple blocks yesterday, I think Bronny could stick at the end of a bench or, like a 7, 8, 9, 10 player. Not going to get tons of minutes, but a defensive player, if he can bring the ball up the floor, his shooting will get better. It almost always does for young players. Very few guys come out of college as dead-eye shooters. Almost nobody, especially at the NBA three-point range, almost nobody. So, but here's what I will bet. I will not bet on Bronny James winning Rookie of the Year. But I will bet the 2 or 3 players drafted right before him, the 52nd, 53rd, 54th, and the 2 or 3 players drafted after him, the 56th, the 57th, the 58th, will all be inconsequential in 3 years of the NBA. Everybody, you can make money now on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it. And there are a lot of people, that's how they make their money. Grifting, conspiracy theories. They do it on their podcasts. They do it on their platforms. This was never a big deal. In an absolutely dreadful draft, if he's a bottom-of-the-bench rotational player, welcome to the 2024 55th, 56th, 53rd pick in the NBA draft. You know the economy's good when people are flush with money to bet that, J-Mac. So LeBron James had 12 points last night. Early in the game at a 17-footer. Bronny, the crowd erupted. Bronny James, everybody went freaking out. Bronny James arrived. Influencers love him. Everybody's taking pictures of him. So for the record, he has struggled offensively, Bronny James has, in the Summer League. But the number 2 pick in the draft on Tuesday went 0 for 15 from the floor. Alex Sarr, the number 2 pick, high ceiling, 0 for 15, with several air balls. So Bronny, in a terrible draft, I defended as the 55th pick. So just to keep score a little bit, let's go to the second round of the draft, and let's take the player that was drafted right before Bronny. How's he doing? And right after. So the 54th pick, Anton Watson, is with the Celtics. He's had a good summer league. 10 points, 5 rebounds. Celtics, who draft well, really like him. Great front office, really like him, doing well. But he will be a G Leaguer. The player drafted right after him was hurt, so let's go to the 57th pick. It's Ulrich Chomchi. 4 points a game. He is viewed very raw as a G Leaguer. So Bronny James, hot, cold, offensively, mostly cold, nice little defensive player, is, averaging about 4 or 5 points a game and selling a bunch of merch. Is it the end of the world? I mean, I know in politics, clickbait, bad actors make a lot of money, but is this really worth getting worked up over? The player before him, G Leaguer. The player after him, hurt. Player after that, G Leaguer. The number 2 pick, 0 for 15. Much higher ceiling, but 0 for 15. The bigger issue for him is he's a 6'1.5" player and is clearly not a pure point guard. Totally limiting his career. He is at best, to me, a middle to back end of the rotation defensive player. That's it. Smart kid, athletic, can defend. Never going to be a fluid, natural offensive player. Almost mechanical to me. That's what he is. I'm sure his shot will get better, but his bigger issue is he's 6'1.5", and the Lakers don't trust him to bring the ball up the floor. Now, maybe they will eventually, but at some point, you got to be a point guard at 6'1.5". You can be a defensive point guard, but you got to be a point guard. But the 54th pick, the 55th pick, the 56th pick, the 57th pick, in this draft, they're all G Leaguers. And I mean, could stay in the G League. It's as if the critics are insisting the Lakers took him as a lottery pick and are demanding and forcing him to start at point guard. No, that's not what J.J. Redick is doing. In fact, here's J.J. Redick on Bronny.
He's a development player. That's how we're looking at Bronny. He's certainly going to spend time with the Lakers. He will spend time as well in the G League. We're going to develop his shot. We'll develop his ball skills. He's already got a great feel. He has a really good instinctive nature on the defensive end.
Yes, he does. When you watch him play, he's got hops. He's got some length. He's quick. He's athletic. Got a little bit of a football build almost. He'll be a defensive player. Probably middle to back end of the rotation. You have to remember, though, even Ray Allen came into this league. He wasn't a great shooter. He developed into it. I've always defended players who don't shoot early in their career. Very few players come into this league as brilliant shooters. Hell, LeBron James didn't have a lot of range when he came into this league. Michael Jordan was never a great distant shooter. So I'm going to give Bronny a pass on the three-point shooting. He's going to develop into a better shooter. But he's athletic. He's smart. He's a hard worker. He can defend. I think he's fine. But in this draft, he's been basically what we were told he would be. Limited offensively, good defensive player, and a project. The biggest issue with him is the one that Chris Broussard mentioned yesterday.
Project is the perfect word. You don't typically think of 6'1" guys as projects, but that's what Bronny is. What is really telling, Colin, is the fact that they almost never have him bringing the ball up. Like, he's a 6'1" player. He's going to have to guard point guards. He's got, obviously not the basketball IQ of his dad, but a solid, smart basketball IQ. And yet they're not even attempting to have him learn point guard at this point.
Yes, and that's really the issue, because that's his only way to work in this league. He's too small to be a 5, a 4, a 3, or a 2. But if he can defend the point on a basketball team that's got scores at the 2, 3, 4, and 5, then you got a shot to be a back end of the bench project G Leaguer, maybe at some point a rotational NBA player.